Good evening and thanks for coming, folks.
Today, I'm going to tell you the story of The Princess and the Pea by Hans Christian Andersen. Once upon a time, a very long time ago, there lived a handsome prince who was prince of all the nations. He was so tall, over 6 feet tall. He had beautiful blonde curls that came down to his shoulders, because in those days men did wear their hair long. He had the most beautiful blue eyes that reminded everyone of the ocean and the sky. And he had a lovely smile that made everyone feel at ease and made women just swoon. Well, one day, a long time ago, he decided he wasn't content. He had been alone for many, many years and decided he wanted to get married. But first, he had to approach his mother, the queen. So he went to her and he said, "Mother dear, I have decided that, I have been extremely lonely and a little lackadaisical, and I have decided that I need to take a bride." Well, his mother was so elated that she lost herself for a moment, forgetting that she was the queen, and showed her excitement. "Oh, my son, I am so excited. I am very happy for you, dear. I knew that one day you would choose to marry. However, I must warn you, there are some rules. So we need to go tell your father, the king, and he will tell you those rules." So off they went to tell the king. "Oh, my dear, dear son, I am so pleased, for now we will carry on our heritage, and I am sure you will have many, many little progeny to go on and on, little children that will carry on our family name. However, I must tell you there is one very strict rule. You have your choice of all the women in the nation, but she must be a princess." Well, to the prince, that wasn't a big issue, for he knew that he was handsome, and he knew that since he was the prince of all the world, that he could have any princess from any land. So off he went the next morning in search of his bride. Took his beautiful horse and went riding along. But he searched day in and day out, and soon he got very tired. Weeks went by, and months went by, and he grew so weary that he almost couldn't stand tall as he's used to, because every princess was quite lovely at first, but very quickly he found something wrong with each one. They were either too tall, too short, too stuck up, or too stubborn, or too weak, or too strong. There was always something you get the picture. Therefore, he had to travel home and bear the sad news that while he had traveled from ocean to ocean, from mountain top to valley, alas, he could not find his princess. He went home, and his mother, the queen, greeted him. "My son, how lovely to see you! But where is the princess? It's not polite for us not to meet her." He had to bear the sad news. "Mama, mother, I am sorry to tell you that after months of searching, I have not found a princess. For while they were all lovely, each one had something that I could not bear to live with for the rest of my life." And she replied, "Well, my dear son, let me explain that at times these things take longer than anticipated. Fear not, I have the utmost confidence that you will find exactly who you need to marry in the proper timing." And when he told his father, the king, he had similar words. My son, I know that if you have patience, you will find the princess that will make you the happiest woman in the world. Patience is a lovely, lovely virtue. Well, the prince was so tired he had to sit down in their presence. He was not happy with what they had to say, but he knew that if he waited like they said, he might find his bride. So he said to Mother and Father, Mother, Father, I suppose you are correct. I shall go to sleep tonight, and in the morning I will be fresh, and perhaps I will start my search anew. So the prince got up, the king and the queen all went to bed to sleep for the night. Very, very late that night, it stormed tremendously. It was tumultuous rains and loud thunder, and blasts of lightning. And in the middle of this terrible storm came a tiny, tiny little knock at the door. Well, nobody heard it because it's so quiet in the middle of all the clocks and the thunder. So she tried a little harder. And still nobody heard. So finally she was very hesitant, insistent. Yet the king heard the knock, and he came running down the stairs and opened the door to see a bedraggled little woman. Her hair was soaked full that he hardly could see her face. She had water coming down from her hair, from her clothes. Water was coming out of her feet and her boots. She was just a ragamuffin. And he said, "May I help you?" She replied, "Yes, I'm so sorry to bother you this late, but I have traveled a great, great distance, and I am looking to meet the prince. I understand he is looking to marry." The king replied, "My dear, perhaps you are not aware that it must be a great princess that our son needs to marry." "Oh, forgive me. I'm so tired from my trip, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Princess Anastasia Jelinka, and I was out of the lands when he was traveling to our area, and he just happened to have missed us. So as soon as I heard, I came quickly without even my escort. I came out on my own to meet him." The king replied, "Oh, well, my dear, come inside. You are getting even wetter. And let me introduce you to the queen, the mother, and to my son, the prince. And perhaps we'll get this all sorted out after you've had a chance to dry off." The queen and the prince rushed downstairs. Now, the prince took a little look at this bedraggled young lady, and he thought, "Princess." But he saw something sparkle in her beautiful blue eyes, and he thought, perhaps she is a princess. Those beautiful eyes. There might actually be someone that I could spend the rest of my life with. Well, let us see, he thought. The queen mother, although excited at the prospect of her son finally getting married, looked at the bedraggled girl and threw her hands up going, "Princess indeed." However, being the queen mother and the matriarch, she had to accommodate the young lady and be polite. But she had an idea. "Come, come, my dear. First we will take you inside, and our servants will give you marvelous, marvelous baths in all the lavender, and we will give you some clothing fit for a princess, and have you sleep the night on our royal guest bedroom, and in the morning we shall talk." But what she didn't tell them after they walked away was what her plan was. I know how I am going to tell if this lady is a princess indeed. I am going to have my servants gather every single mattress they have in the area. And I'm going to take one teeny weeny pea, so small, and I'm going to put it at the bottom, right on top of the box spring, and through the huge stack of mattresses. If she is a true princess, we will see. If she is a true princess, her skin is so sensitive that she will be able to feel it, and she won't sleep a wink. So the queen gathered all her staff and had them pile the mattresses so high. But first, they took the little teeny weeny pea, very tiny, and they pushed it up under the mattresses. And at the top, they put the most wonderful sheets, satin, beautiful sheets with lace and lovely pillows, all to give the princess a wonderful time. And then they put a ladder next to it so that she could climb up into the bed and have a lovely sleep. Well, the princess lavished in the wonderful baths. She had lavender, and she washed and felt wonderful when she was finished. And when she came out, her beautiful long blonde hair that came all the way down to her hips. Her golden locks shone like the moon, and she was ready to go to sleep. So she climbed up the ladder. She thought it was a little strange that her bed was so high, but she climbed up the ladder and she laid down on the bed and tried to get comfortable. She moved around and something wasn't right. She patted the pillows down and moved around again and tried another position. That didn't work. She tried it again, but something kept bothering her. Well, this process went on all night. Alas, she didn't get to sleep at all. The next morning she arose and she got dressed in the beautiful clothing that the queen had put out for her. And she came down the stairs like a royal princess, very, very, very royally. And her hair was flowing as it blew in the wind a little tiny bit. She walked down the stairs and the prince took a look at her from the bottom to the top. And he smiled a smile so big and charming that even the most unhappy person would have to smile back. My dear, welcome to my palace. Well, my family's palace, that is. And she said, "Thank you, Your Highness. I so appreciate your kindness." The prince asked her very politely, "Well, my dear, how did you sleep?" And the princess, although she hadn't slept a wink, did not want to be rude because the queen and the king were standing right behind the prince. And she said, oh, it was so glorious. Thank you ever so much. I especially enjoyed the sheets. Thank you. Well, the queen went and she thought, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. She is a fake. But she said nothing. The queen went over to the princess and said, "My dear, are you sure you had a good sleep? Because don't take offense, but you don't look very rested." And the princess said, "Oh, dear Queen Mother, please do not take this the wrong way, but I must tell you that something bothered me all night. I couldn't sleep a wink, and I am so sorry joy because you did everything. The sheets were wonderful, the bedding was wonderful, but I couldn't sleep at all. And the Queen Mother suddenly rose her head, and although she was the queen, she curtsied to the young lady and said, "My dear, welcome, princess, to our family." Well, the prince and the king were elated, and they arranged a big, wonderful marriage, and the princess and the prince lived happily ever after, all because of a tiny little pea. The end.